I want to mention some of the great programs we have coming up in 2015, and I especially always tell you about the next one because I find that helpful, that right now you can make a note in your calendar. The next one is going to be a business after hours reception. That was really popular when we did it in February at Joseph Toyota. This one's going to be at Clover Nook Country Club on Thursday, May 7th. I want to encourage you to join us at that event. We're going to have a great opportunity to network. We're going to have beautiful hors d'oeuvres, of course, because Clover Nook does a great job with that. And we're also going to have some guest speakers on hand who are going to be able to talk to you about what I refer to as the benefits of belonging. You're going to find out some of the things that you have access to because you are a Colerain Chamber member. And if you aren't yet a Colerain Chamber member, you're invited to come and find out a little bit more about those benefits. So that's going to be on Thursday, May 7th. Be sure and feel free to contact me by email at president@colerain.org if you have any questions, but it will be going out in our email newsletter, which I also want to mention, if you have not been receiving the monthly email newsletter, please contact me by email, president@colerain.org, and let me get you on the email list, because that's where I distribute most of the information about upcoming events. Okay, I think that's all the housekeeping items I want to do right now. Let me introduce our speakers. Kathleen Davenport has worked with the Ohio Bureau of Workers' Compensation since 1994. She's experienced in assisting Ohio employers with their risk management, claims management, and safety solutions. She's focused on supporting the growth and retention of business in our state. Today, she's going to talk to you about Ohio's new prospective billing system. She's going to talk about savings options that are available to you and the ins and outs of dealing effectively with workers' compensation. Also with us today is Brandon Hunter of Hunter Consulting. Brandon will provide information about how you can access some meaningful savings on your workers' comp premiums. And he'll be mentioning the group rating program, which will soon be available to Colerain Chamber members, which will give you an even better opportunity to save on your workers' comp premiums. And that will be coordinated by Hunter Consulting, which we are now, as a chamber, going to be coordinating our workers' comp program with. With that, please join me in welcoming Kathleen Davenport and Brandon Hunter.
Good afternoon. How's everyone doing today? Good. Well, thank you for having me out today. I came out to talk a little bit about the different discount saving programs that the BWC has to offer. The Colerain Chamber of Commerce, you guys are in the process of becoming what's called a certified sponsor. Becoming a certified sponsor allows you to offer group rating and group retrospective rating programs to the different members of your organization. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what those programs are and a little bit about what what we call destination excellence, what those other programs are that you can take advantage of as another way to save some money. First, let me just take a minute and introduce myself. Again, I'm Brandon Hunter with Hunter Consulting Company. Hunter Consulting Company is a workers' compensation and unemployment compensation third-party administrator. We're a second-generation family business. We've been in business for 29 years. We're locally here in Cincinnati. We represent employers from 2 employees to over 30,000, from small group rated programs up to self-insured programs, in both public and across all sectors of the private industry. So first is group experience rating. Most employers are familiar with this. This program has been around since the early mid-90s. Started out with discounts as much as 95%. We're now at a maximum discount of 53%. So it has come down. The Bureau used to monkey with this every year as far as changing the discount, but the last few years it stayed at 53%, which has been really helpful for some of our employers as far as budgeting and those kinds of things. The way this program works is we take employers of similar industry and similar workers' comp experience, meaning we have a similar claims experience, loss to expected losses ratio. And we put those together and we create tiers. Those tiers equal discounts, and those discounts can be anywhere from 5% to the 53% max discount. Every industry might have a different number of tiers or levels depending on the size of the groups, but this is a popular program that's been around, again, since the early 90s. Just to note, and Kathleen's going to talk about the switch to prospective billing. With the switch to prospective billing, the enrollment deadline for group rating programs has changed. Traditionally, it was always the last business day in February. It is now, we file groups the Monday before Thanksgiving, which means we ask all paperwork to be in by mid-November. With also the prospective change, the years and the time frames that impact your experience is changing a bit. We're going to go from the oldest for the last 5 calendar years, and they're going to line that up with the policy year. And that's something that's going on right now. And again, Kathleen's going to talk about that. So that's group experience rating. Hunter's been involved with that program since its inception through the Southern Ohio Chamber Alliance, which Colerain is a part of. So that's group, pretty straightforward. Everyone pretty much understands that or has some kind of history with that program. Next is group retrospective rating. This is a newer program, 5 or 6 years old. And it's similar in that we take employers of similar industries and we pool them together. But we don't necessarily have similar experiences. But what we do is we take these groups and we pool them together and you share your experience. You pay your full state fund premium to the Bureau. There's not an upfront discount. At the end of the policy year later, we wait a whole other year and we look back. If the group performed better than expected, that group's going to get a discount. Those discounts can range anywhere from 1% to a max discount of up to, some of them are pushing 75, 80% for those groups. Now, we're never probably going to see a 70 or 80% discount group because that means every employer in there is going to have no claims. Not probable, but I will say that we do have some programs that are exceeding the max group rating discount of 53%. So what's the catch or the downside? First, you have to wait 2 years before you see your first refund. So there is a waiting game for that. The program is looked at 3 times. So you wait the first year for your first look back. They're going to review that same year, 2 more times after that. And the other downside is if you go into this group and the group performs poorly, you could be assessed. And those assessments are anywhere from 5% up to, I think, 50%, depending on what threshold that group chooses. Our groups typically choose a 10% threshold. So even if you have a clean year, that program, if someone else in that group has an accident, a bad accident, that could cause that group to get an assessment. Now, in the private industry, so far, knock on wood, we haven't seen that. Our groups are high performing. We have a manufacturing group that's running almost at 50%, which is pretty impressive for a manufacturing group. And all the other groups, historically over time, have been plus 30, 35%. Who's a good fit for this group? Employers who are eligible for a group rating, but maybe only a 10 or 15% discount, willing to roll the dice to get a 30, 35, 40, 45%. Or we have a lot of employers who maybe have 1 claim. Otherwise, they're a clean, safe organization. They have 1 claim that's causing them to be kicked out of group rating. And we'll put them in a group retro because we know that was an isolated incident. It's not likely to occur. And so these are the types of organizations that we will put in there. Well, we won't take, we're not going to take anyone who has a high frequency of claims. More than 2 really high dollar losses because that impacts that group. We want that group to perform well. The groups are filed a little later than regular group. We file those groups in January. But again, it's a similar grouping situation as offered through the Colerain Chamber. So those are the 2 group programs that as a certified sponsor, Colerain can now offer to its members. Many of you may be participating in one of these programs through another association that you're paying dues to, maybe just simply to get into the group. As a member of the chamber, you automatically qualify for this program without any other chamber-associated dues. So that's group retro. Destination excellence, this won't take very long. I'm just going to kind of highlight some of these. And this is important to talk about today because the deadline for these programs is May 31st. Most of these programs are compatible with traditional group experience rating. And so you can stack these on top of your other discounts, your group discount, to save even more money. Industry-specific safety program. This is a program that is designed to help improve workplace safety. Depending on the size of your organization, you have to complete 1 to 3 loss prevention activities, like attending Safety Congress, meeting with people like Kathleen from the Bureau. There's webinars, there's a myriad of things you can do, but it's not a lot, and you get a lot of safety benefit out of it, and you're gonna get a 3% rebate if you complete all the tasks by the end of the policy year. Transitional work. This is a program I think every employer should be doing. What transitional work does on the surface is it gets injured workers back to work faster. You can earn up to a 10% discount or rebate, depending on the percentage of employees you get back to a light duty or modified duty program if you're enrolled in this program. You do have to have a BWC approved transitional work program to be a part of this, but there's grant money to pay for 75% of it. You do also have to have a claim that would be eligible for this program to get that injured worker back to light duty, to get that 10%. But if you don't have this program in place, you're never eligible for the 10%. As a third-party administrator who we manage claims on a daily basis, I can tell you the ones we get back to work right away are the ones that have the best outcome. The longer an injured worker sits at home collecting temporary total or salary continuation, the longer and harder it is to get that employee back to work. So getting someone back here, back in the workplace right away is very, very important. Again, there's grant money to pay for this program. The application to enroll in the program is a 2-page self-safety assessment and a 1-page application with your demographic information. Very, very easy, up to 10% rebate on this program. Drug-free safety programs, these have been around for a very long time. There's different levels. There's advanced, where you can earn a 4% discount, or the basic. The biggest difference between the two is the random testing requirement that you have in the advanced. We are not drug-free program experts. We work with a partner to provide this service. Many employers have this. If it's something that you're not taking advantage of and you'd like to, let us know. But certainly, again, pretty easy discount program to get enrolled in. Not a ton of work, nice discounts, stackable with your group rating program. Safety Council. This is another very easy way to get a refund or get some money back from the BWC. Safety Council meets typically once a month. You've got to attend 10 and 12 meetings a year. If you are in a group rating program and you attend your 10 meetings and you meet an improvement metric, you get a 2% bonus. If you are not in a group program and you attend the meetings and you improve your 2% or improve your performance bonus, you get a 4% discount. So again, a lot of great information comes out of these Safety Council meetings. You get a lot of safety information. There's a lot of great networking that goes on in these meetings as well. Members of chambers, networking is one of the reasons why you're there. It's just another avenue for you to network with people, learn safety self-practices, and again, get some money back for your organization. Vocational rehab, this really isn't a program that you enroll in, but it's a claim strategy that your TPA or your MCO will help you employ for an injured worker who maybe was injured so severely that maybe they can't come back and do the job that they were originally doing. Getting that employee into a voc rehab program allows them to be trained to do something else. While they're in that program, all the costs that are going on with their claim, their continuing medical treatment and their salary continuation, their temporary total, whatever that might be, is being charged off on the surplus fund. So this helps all the way around. It helps retrain an injured worker so they can get back into the workforce, because again, the longer someone sits at home, the less likely they are to come back out. And it saves the employer money because these costs are being bounced back to the surplus fund. The last two destination excellence programs I want to talk about real quickly are the Go Green and the Lapse Free. Go Green, $1,000 every 6 months, 1% premium discount up to $1,000 every 6 months, simply by paying your premiums with the BWC online. And the last one, the lapse-free discount. If you've ever seen a payroll report, this one's automatically on your payroll report if you have not had any lapses in a rolling 6 months. So I know that was maybe quick coverage of the groups and those discount programs, but I wanted to talk about those real quick. And any questions before I turn this over to Kathleen on those programs? If not, let me know, or I have Tammy Purcell from my office here as well. We'll be happy to answer any questions about our groups and the group programs. but here's Kathleen. You want this?
That's it? Yep.
This, and I'll pass this out.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Everybody awake after that Olive Garden? Put you in the food coma? Well, hopefully we can keep you awake for a little bit while longer. Let me switch out, get my PowerPoint presentation up here real quick. Easy enough. Well, what I wanted to take the opportunity to talk to you about is a program that we're moving to Prospective Billing. And when Deb and I spoke back in January, we felt that this was perfect timing to come out and talk to you guys about this move to Prospective Billing. Just by a show of hands, how many here are responsible for the payroll report, the reporting of payroll and paying a premium to BWC? Couple? So if it's not you, I would encourage you to pass this to your CFO or whoever is responsible in your organization. And we've been trying to do this education for a number of months now. Back in the fall, we were given presentations. But really right now is such a critical time because this is the time of transition. We've been trying to educate employers for several months, letting them know that this was coming. But what we wanted to do with Prospective Billing, well, before we get there, let me talk a few minutes about what we call safety grants. Brandon's passing out some information, and one of the documents there is a safety intervention grant. It's the one with the green ribbon on top. BWC, in addition to the programs that Brandon mentioned, which, like Brandon said, they're very, very cost-effective to implement some of those programs. This is actually a grant program that BWC has to help pay for equipment. It's a 3-to-1 matching grant up to $40,000. So that's a pretty significant amount of money that BWC is willing to invest and get some return on our investments. We've purchased in the past a lot of material handling lifting equipment. For EMS services, we've purchased a lot of those no-lift cots. We were having first responders being injured, lifting cots and putting them into the ambulance. Vacuum lifts, we paid for stair climbing lifts. You know, anytime you're lifting things that are in an awkward position, you run the risk of injury. And a lot of these ergonomic fixes by these equipment have really, really reduced workplace injuries. And what we find is a lot of companies don't have the capital sometimes to invest in that. So we put some matching grant, and we evaluate this program and all the other programs that Brandon mentioned on an annual basis to make sure that we're getting a return on our investment. So employers can apply for these. The details are on that form. But I really encourage you to take advantage of this program because $40,000 is a lot of money. If you maximize the grant, your portion of you would get $40,000 from us, and your one match would be $13,335 or so. So it's a great way to get a piece of equipment over $50,000 and get some money back from BWC. The one thing I do suggest that if you're thinking about something to purchase is to contact us at BWC up front. You work with one of our safety consultants who will come out and help you through the grant process. We don't want you to fill out the grant application and then be on our moratorium list and get to the end of the process and us say no. So have us involved in the very beginning stages of it. Sometimes employers will come to us and have a problem that they want to solve, maybe a particular area, and they'll ask us for advice, and we'll be able to share with some of the information we've learned from other grants to help you pick something that A, will be approved because we want you to get some of that money, and B, something that's going to reduce and fix the issues there in your work environment. So recently we've increased our grant fund to $15 million each year, and each year it renews every July 1st. So that's another opportunity to tap into some of BWC's resources. So at BWC, you have a number of specialists that can work with you. I'm a business consultant, so I deal more of the risk management or the money issues. So I, along with Hunter Consulting or your TPA, can help you evaluate some of the programs that Brandon talked about to help you put some numbers behind those percentages to see if that's something that's worthwhile. We also have safety consultants that are paid for out of your premium that come out. They work with our safety grants, this program here, to help figure out your needs. But they also can do things like help you with the safety committee. They can help you with some of your HASCOM needs and identifying different programs that you need to have on the safety end. So it's a great service to take advantage of. So 2 years ago, we started giving back some rebates. And what we did was, we are a workers' compensation system. So we only insure employers for their workers' compensation. We don't have any other lines of insurance. And so each year, we build a pie of all our claims costs. We look at how much we anticipate our claims costs, and then we set premiums. And we set premiums based on your industry, what type of work that you do, your payroll, which is a measure of exposure. And when all is said and done, we also have to make some investments because our oldest claim in our system right now is from 1942. And we had an unfortunate situation where an injured worker was 15 years old and he became a quadriplegic. So he has been entitled to permanent total disability since 1942 at the time of his accident. And so in 1942, we collected enough premium to pay out the tail of his claim and every other claim that year. So we have an investment, and we have been pretty conservative in our investment strategy, but it's done a little better than what we had predicted, our usual prediction of 4% return on our investment. We've had some excess money. Since we are a state agency, we're revenue neutral, so that money goes back to employers. So we did this back in 2013, we announced $1 billion back, and we gave back employers premium. It looked at their 2011 premium, and we gave back 56%. And then we did that again this fall, and we looked at your 2014 premium, or I'm sorry, 2012 premium, and we gave some of that back in 2014. So last summer and then this fall, hopefully you've received some of those checks, and hopefully you reinvested those into your safety program. But as part of that, we realized that we needed to do something different in our billing system, and that's what I wanted to spend most of today talking about. Currently, we collect premium retrospectively. Are there any public employers in the audience? Couple. So public employers, you pay us once a year. Private employers, the rest of you, you pay us semi-annually. So we ask you for your payroll from July 1st of 14 to December 31st of 14, and you paid that in February of 15. So coverage is in arrears. We've known for many years, and I've been here for 20, that we've needed to modernize that system. And we need to come in line with what the industry standard is, which is paying premiums up front. So if you think about your house, has anybody bought a house recently? When you buy a house at closing, you pay your first year's homeowners up front. Same with your car insurance. You pay for your premium up front, and then you use the coverage. So that is the standard insurance practice. We were one of the few that had the retrospective premium. By doing this up front, by doing a prospective payment, we're giving you more payment options, and I'll talk about those in a minute. But by having our money up front, as opposed to collecting it in arrears, we expect our base rates, which are our average rates, to go down 2% for private employers and 4% for public employers. For private employers, we just announced last month that rates on average are going down 10.8%. So we're definitely on a downward trend. And if you think about workers' compensation and what drives workers' compensation, there's two things. We pay for medical costs associated with that claim, and we pay compensation. And I know there was a little bit of an economic downturn, 2008, 2009, but for the most part, wages increase each year. And medical costs increase each year. So having our rates being on a downward slope and the drivers that affect that rate on the upward slope says a lot. But by just having our premium up front, we're able to reduce those base rates or those average rates by either 2 or 4%. And our ability to detect noncompliance and fraud. I'm assuming everybody in this room pays their premiums and pays their premiums on time, but there might be some of your competitors or counterparts that are not following the law and not paying their premium on time. We have a whole compliance department and a fraud department to help deal with those people that do not pay us timely. If you have your payment retrospectively, and there were some employers that were waiting to see if they needed it before they actually decided if they were going to report payroll. By having our money up front, we're able to detect those non-compliance and fraud employers more quickly. Does everybody remember this guy? My kids don't even know who this guy is, but I think most of us from our generation knows Wimpy. I will gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today. So here's my question to you guys. Does Wimpy pay? Some say no. Some say yes. Here's my philosophy. I think he pays most of the time. Maybe not all the time. But see that little belly up front? He's getting a lot of hamburgers. And I think that's like true for most employers. Most employers pay us. They pay us on time. They pay us what they owe us. But there are some that like to skip out. So by having our premiums collected prospectively, I think we'll have a better outcome. I talked about the installment options. So right now, public employers have the option of, they pay us once a year. You can actually split that into 2 payments. For the private employers, you pay us twice a year. We're actually going to give you more options as far as payment. You can pay us once a year on an annual basis, semi-annual, quarterly, bi-monthly, or monthly. I have a 16-year-old son, and when he turned 16 last May, guess what I did? I started paying my car insurance monthly, because that was a big chunk to come up with at one time. So now employers, based on their cash flow needs, have that option to break it up into 12 months. So that is something different. You could do 6 months or quarterly, whatever fits your business model, gives you some options. So we have what we call minimum payers. So right now the minimum premium is $50 every 6 months, so $100 a year. We will actually increase that to $120. And the minimum payers, which is probably not anybody in this room, but the minimum payers will not have the installment options. They will just pay us one time a year, because breaking those $120 into 10 monthly installments can be pretty cumbersome. So they will not have the installment options, but all the other employers will. So we're really getting to the point right now where this transition is going to take place. It's going to be July 1st of 2015. Instead of having those 2 6-month payroll periods, we're going to have 1 annual policy period. And this next bullet here is very important, because when we first started talking about moving to a prospective payment from a retrospective payment option, one of the things that employers feared was, I'm going to have to make a double payment, because I'm going to have to catch up my last 6 months, and then I'm going to have to start paying prospectively. When we talked about that surplus that we had available, we set money aside to be able to offer what we call a transition credit. We know that businesses cannot afford to pay us a double payment. So we developed this process to avoid that double payment. Employers will still have to report their payroll to us for the private employers. You'll still report your January through June payroll to us, but you will not have to pay that premium. There will be a transition credit in the same amount of the premium. And then for July and August, there will also be a transition credit. Right now, with the private employers, your January through June payment would be due August 31st in the retrospective world. So we want to also give a payment for that July and August to really make it a seamless transition so there's no negative cash flow advantage. So the 8-month transition credit will take place, and the first prospective payment will be due on August 31st. And this is for private. I'll talk a little bit more about publics here in a minute. So again, you'll file your actual payroll report. That, because we use that for rate making purposes, we need to know that actual payroll. You'll file that January through June by August 15th or August 31st. We'll always, when we move to this prospective payment, since we don't have your actual payroll, we're going to estimate what that payroll is going to be, and we're going to look at the most fully reported policy year. So for a private company, we have your July 1st of 13 through June 30th of 14 payroll. We're going to use that to predict your payroll and premium for 2015. You'll receive an annual notice that this is what your premium payment is going to be. And we're going to default everybody to a every other month bi-monthly payment installment option. You can change that to whatever fits your need, but it's going to default to that every other month. So you'll get your, in May of each year, you'll get your estimated annual premium notice. We also will give you an opportunity at that time to let us know if you think that there's going to be any significant change in payroll. Because like I said, we're using, for 2015, July 1st of 2015, we're using payroll that's from July 1st of 13. What you'll have, if you expect a significant decrease in your payroll, we're not going to want to break up your installments based on an inflated number. So you'll have the opportunity to notify BWC that I expect my payroll to be a lot less. And then if you expect your payroll to be a lot more, you can also notify us, but we'll talk about a true-up process that happens in the end. So for this first year, employers will have that option to select a different payment option, but we do suggest that you keep that bi-monthly that's defaulted the first year. So you'll receive a notice of installment in early August. Whatever installment plan that you pick, you'll receive an invoice 30 days before it's due to remind you that your premium is due. So the first payment, the first installment, which covers July and August, is paid by BWC. That's part of that 8-month transition. You'll actually receive an invoice, which is the second installment, in early August, and the due dates could be August 31st. Many of you might know what a premium security deposit is, but for those of you who do not, is that BWC, when you take out your coverage, we collect a security deposit anywhere from $10 to $1,000, and that's because we currently have a system that collects premium in arrears. All employers will get a credit or a check back for their premium security deposit because we won't need those deposits now that we have our money up front. And again, the invoices are going to be 30 days before they're due. So there's going to be a true-up process. And right now we don't have this because we have the retrospective payment. But at the end of the end of the policy year, we're going to ask you, what is your actual payroll? We estimated your payroll, therefore we estimated your premium. So the payroll, or the policy year ends June 30th of each year. We'll give employers until August 15th to either go online or report by phone your actual payroll. And then we'll calculate, do we owe you a refund or do you owe us some additional premium, and true up at the end of the year. So that is something that is new. So for the private employers, instead of reporting payroll every 6 months, you'll actually do that once a year. And it will be online or over the phone, which is a little bit different than what we've had in the past. So Brandon mentioned some of the programs, the group rating program and the group retro program. We've changed some of those deadlines, and I think Brandon covered this pretty thoroughly. Now for the group experience rating, that's going to be the Monday prior to Thanksgiving. The group retro, we also have a program called One Claim and a Deductible, and individual retro, those programs are now moved to the last business day in January. And like Brandon mentioned, the destination excellence, the transitional work, the industry-specific safety, and drug-free, those enrollment deadlines have been actually pushed back a little bit to the last business day in May. So I think this kind of brings things together a little bit for the private employers, this timeline. So on March 2nd of 2015, so that's already passed, your payroll report was due for the second half of 2014. Brandon mentioned May 29th is the last business day in May, so the new Destination Excellence programs are for July of 15. Those applications are due. May 31st, we'll send that estimated premium notice out to all the private employers. June 1st, BWC pays the first installment. June 1st would be the July and August premium, so there's no invoice for that period. You can see July 1st is the beginning of the actual policy period. August 1st will be the invoices for that second installment, which is the first installment that you actually pay. That will be for September and October premium. And then August 31st, your payroll report is going to be due, and then your first installment is due. And then we get into the group enrollment deadline, which we had already talked about. This kind of goes through the whole year, how it will look. The one thing I did want to point out is July 1st of 2016, and then is the beginning of the next policy period. And then August 15th is that new true-up period where we'll ask for employers to report that payroll to us for the whole policy year, July 1st of 15 through 6/30 of 16 at that time. So that's a little bit new. Employers will lapse if they have not paid their premium on time. So if you do choose an installment option, say monthly, you actually do have the opportunity to lapse monthly. We're working on getting an automatic withdrawal set up, but right now it's manual. But employers will lapse if you don't pay your premiums on time. We will not lapse employers if you don't pay your true-up. There is a process, and we currently have the process in place where we estimate your payroll by adding 10%. And then the Attorney General's office has always been our collection agency for any premiums or monies due to BWC. Talk a little bit about the public employer. Got a few minutes here. But you guys are on the policy year. On calendar year is your policy year. You will actually be given a 50% credit for your 15 and your 16 premium. And you can split that up into two 50% payments. So your payment is going to feel like a regular payment, but it's going to be 2 years worth of coverage. We'll send the invoice. We're going to default you to a monthly payment. So you guys are going to be a little bit different. So we'll set you up on a monthly payment. And I'm sorry. You'll receive, 2017 will be the first year that you receive your estimated annual premium notice. So 2015 and 16 is going to be the transition for you. You will, 2016 will be the first prospective. 2015 will be the last retrospective. We'll give you the ability to break that up into two 50% payments, but the bill will only be 50%. So lots of 50% there. So let me get you to, since we're a little bit out of time, this is what the timeline for the public employer is going to look like. Your group enrollment is actually May 29th of 2015. So at the end of May, you'll have the opportunity to enroll for group rating for January of 16. So that's coming up. July 31st, you can get into some of our alternative rating programs like Group Retro, One Claim Deductible. November 30th is your Destination Excellence deadline. December of 15, you'll receive your 2016 notice with the estimated annual premium and your payroll report. So again, similar to the privates, that we'll still expect you to report that payroll to us for 2015. April 1st of 16, your 2016 invoice will be mailed. May 15th, your 2015 payroll report and invoice minimum of 50% payment. And then we have, again, the group deadline. Again, some of our program deadlines here. September 1st is another key date that if you split yours up into that 50% payment option, your second 50% will be due then. The notice of estimated premium for 17 goes out in November. The program deadline for Destination Excellence is November 30th. And then we'll move to the normal process as the invoice comes out 1 month before they're due. You'll also have that true-up process, so your true-up date will be February 15th. So February 15th of 2017 is the first true-up that is due. We have a lot of information. We have some seminars that are coming up for private employers. We have 2-hour seminars that go over a lot of this in more detail. If you go to our website, there's a section there for prospective billing that has a lot of information out there, key dates, frequently asked questions. If you can't attend one of our seminars, or like I said, I suggest if you're not the person in your company to have either your CFO or your accounting manager, whoever takes care of that, attend one of those seminars. If you're not able to do that, we also are offering webinars. They're going to be starting in May. So all of that you can find on our website. And you can see right here, this is our website. Right on the home page is Prospective Billing. And it has this PowerPoint presentation. Brandon was kind enough to pass out the fact sheets, which really tell the details, the who, what, when, where, why, and how the process is going to work. For the 2 public employers, I actually have a separate fact sheet that I'll hand you after the presentation because it has a different timeline. So it's exciting in the fact that we're offering this transition credit, that we're not having to bill employers twice, and there's a lot of positive advantages of coming up to speed with the industry standards, the decrease in our rates just because of the time value of money, of having our money up front, and not having to have such aggressive compliance efforts. So it's really a big change, and I thank Deb for giving me the opportunity to come out and talk to you at this key time when things are really starting to change. With that, I'll open it up to some questions. Yes. Scratching his head.
I have 2 questions.
Sure.
First question. So you guys are waiving any premium for the first 8 months of this year?
Yes, we're calling them transition credits, but it's premium forgiveness in essence.
Okay.
Yes.
Clarification. My next question. The true-up period.
Yes.
When you report the actual payroll, you might have over-reported and you're due a refund, and you might have under-reported and you're going to ask for more money.
Yes.
If you under-report, can you credit that refund to your next premium installment?
So it will depend on the installment option that you choose, and the timing. So your refund would credit to your account. So if you're on that bi-monthly installment option, let's say August 15th, August 15th, you'll actually have to pay that at the time of true-up. But if you have a credit, it will be released on your next normal billing cycle. So most likely your normal billing cycle will be after so your answer is yes.
Okay, so if you have an additional premium due, are you going to spread that out?
No, that will be due August 15th.
That has to go into one lump sum.
Yes. And so it's important to know what your rate is, and we'll send that letter out May at the beginning of the year. And through your own accruing process, you should be able to tell, well in advance if your payroll's going to be over or under the estimated premium. And like I mentioned before, if you know that it's going to be, you're expecting a huge growth, or more importantly, a significant decline, make sure you let us know that, because with this, if you expect decrease in payroll significantly, let's say your premium's $50,000, and we break that up into 12 different installments, and your premium comes in at $25,000, you're going to pay a higher installment over the year than you should have. So if you know that up front, let us know. At the original time the premium, the premium notice that we send in May. But anytime during the year, if you know that that's going to change significantly, we'll readjust those installments. But the true-up is key, because the true-up at the end of the year brings everything in balance. Any other questions? All right, well, I know Deb has some door prizes that she wants to give and get you out of here on time, so.
Please join me in thanking